Good evening, everybody. We are live. It is Wednesday. Normally it's Tuesday for Never Mind the Buy Box, but this evening, because of the football last night, we are broadcast. Well, say we, like the royal we. It's just me this evening, but we are broadcasting live. Good evening, Ruth. Right, I'm just going to jump in on my video, and I'm going to tell you why it's just me in a moment. If anyone's interested, of course. Right, there we go. So I've got the. Oh, hang on a sec. Got the videos up. Have a look at the comments. Please give me yes, we can see and hear you. But Ruth, you're watching on YouTube. I need the Facebook viewers to let me know that they can see and hear me as well, because we do stream simultaneously live on Facebook via the Secret Wealth Project Facebook group, and also YouTube as well. So it's Ash. Hi Ash, good to hear from you. Glad you're okay. I had to check in with you last week because someone asked where you were, and yeah, we didn't know. So yeah, glad everything's okay. I am keeping well, thank you. David Evans, good breakaway evening. Kay, yes you can, brilliant. Yeah, do you know what? And that's part of what I want to talk a little bit about tonight as well. We were away last week. Obviously, I wasn't here. Matt was here with Mark Hawley. And, you know, it was really good to have a break because obviously I think with everything that's been going on with COVID and, you know, the pandemic over the last 18 months, we are in a position, like most people here who do this kind of thing full time, who work full time from themselves, and especially if you work for you and your partner and your family work full time for yourself, being self-employed, it's very hard to take a break unless you physically remove yourself from the situation. And we always used to do that by going to Florida for 2 or 3 weeks, you know, going away with family, that type of thing. So when you're in an employed job, it's easier just to take a break at home, go out for days, you know, things like that. But it's, I personally think, let me know in the comments if you agree, I think it's a lot harder when you're self-employed to take a break if you're physically staying kind of within your work environment, which for me predominantly is I work from home now. You know, we go back and forth between the warehouse and things like that. But, you know, I predominantly, certainly since COVID, have been working from home. So for me, I absolutely 100% needed that respite to, you know, after 18 months of kind of not going anywhere. Yes, we had breaks over Christmas and things like that where we kind of didn't do anything for a 2-week period. But of course, that's a busy, stressful time in most people's lives anyway. You're seeing friends, you're seeing family, you've got to get that, you know, you've got to get everything ready for Christmas. Whereas being able to physically take ourselves out of the situation, albeit, you know, half an hour down the road, because we live in Bournemouth. So we felt it was a bit pointless traveling for hours somewhere else when we live in such a lovely part of the country anyway. So we took ourselves out, booked ourselves a lodge, and we did a very, you know, kid-friendly, family-focused holiday. Lots of bingo, lots of swimming, you know, lots of things like that at this particular holiday location. And it was fabulous. And we really enjoyed it. It was something that was much needed. And it was something that until you do it, you don't realize how much you need it. And because of a result of taking that mental break last week, and I was pretty good, you know, I wasn't 100% out of the situation. I'm still answering messages and doing this and checking on Facebook groups and doing posts and things like that, checking on ESA. But, you know, being out of it the majority of the time really did help. And what that helped me and Matt, my husband, to do was to be able to really focus on what we want to achieve for the rest of the year moving forward, and what our thoughts and plans are for the future as well. And I'm going to come on and talk about that in a moment. And I can honestly say the decisions that we've made over the last week or so with our business moving forward, because there's lots of changes on Amazon, lots of stuff going on at the moment, and that's prompted thought about, you know, where we see ourselves with our businesses and how we're going to operate moving forward. And by the way, I'm not talking from a negative point of view. It's prompted a lot of thinking and, you know, changing and adapting to where we thought it might go to where we possibly think after these changes and things that are taking place that it might go moving forward. So I'm going to come and talk about that a little bit later as well. But because it's just me here tonight, I need you guys to be as interactive as possible. Billy no mates, I've got no one to help me tonight, but I will say that was out of choice. Again, a big part of running your own business and doing things and growing within your business as well is doing things outside of your comfort zone. Now, I don't have any issues talking. I think most of you will probably be aware of that by now. But what I've never done is I've never really done one of these live broadcasts on my own. I've done, you know, quick live broadcasts in ESA and things like that, but I've never really done it on my own. And I thought last week, instead of trying to get someone to come on with me, I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to do it on my own. I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. I'm going to talk freely about Amazon. I'm going to answer any questions that you guys might have in the comments. I'm going to update you about a few things that are going on with us, our plans for the future, how we've been selling on the US platform, because I know hopefully some of you would be interested to hear how that's going, because I know it might be part of your plans for the future, and just generally have a chit chat with you guys and talk about, you know, what's going on in the state of Amazon at the moment. Because I don't think anyone's, you know, I made a couple of posts in Secret Wealth Project last couple of weeks, and I don't want them to be taken out of context when I talked about Debbie Downer. And the way I worded it, if Matt Webley's watching, is it was like I was talking about Matt Webley being a Debbie Downer. It wasn't that at all. It was to do with generally in these communities, in Facebook communities, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been dealing with a lot of Amazon sellers for a long time. And throughout the year, normally, you will see this kind of Amazon emotional roller coaster where people will go through fits and starts of, they love this business, they hate this business, what am I doing? You know, all of these kind of emotional decisions that are linked with running an Amazon business. And it's generally reflective of the time of the year, the season of selling on Amazon. And of course, it goes without saying, there are some seasons within Amazon for the overall well-being of the community that are better than others. Everyone's generally quite happy in Q4 because there's lots of sales, people are buying stuff, prices are holding, everything like that. So, but it's quite normal for this kind of Amazon emotional roller coaster, unless you sell seasonal items. If you sell general kind of traditional arbitrage, then there are quieter months than others, to be perfectly honest, unless you are just continually selling consumable, fast-moving consumable goods, things like that. So if you sell a lot of toys, you'll probably be a little bit quieter this time of year. If you're not selling pools and, you know, slip and slides and outdoor goods, you know, when we're experiencing the good weather. But if, you know, you're traditionally selling Barbie dolls, then probably this time of year it's going to be a little bit quieter. But with the pandemic over the last 18 months, a lot of us haven't experienced that Amazon emotional roller coaster because it's been just consistently good with a lot of sales and with a lot of, you know, goodness for everyone involved in the Amazon community. And probably in the last 6 to 8 weeks, compounded with a couple of other things that have been going on with Amazon. Did someone say restock limits, and IPI scores, and, you know, an influx of what seems to be a lot of intellectual property claims at the moment, compounded with that going into a slightly quieter time on Amazon, with the fact that we're coming out of the pandemic, then naturally, I think people are going to be going through a little bit of a Debbie Downer or a down phase at the moment. So what I wanted to do was kind of highlight that, say it's okay, it's the natural progression of Amazon, but also at the same time to let you know that there's this misconception kind of going around at the moment with people saying Amazon's got quieter and, you know, I'm not making as many sales. There's a reason probably that you're not making as many sales, but it's certainly not because Amazon's got any quieter or because the demand has disappeared from Amazon. That is absolutely not correct. It's been proven through the rising cost of paid advertising over the last kind of 6 months. The demand, the traffic, the increase in sales. And if you look at the figures, the sales figures, and compare them to pre-COVID, then, obviously figures increased in the COVID period of time compared to 2019. You've got your 2020 figures. And then what you would automatically expect to see is you would expect to see a bit of a dip if Amazon was being quieter. So you would expect to see this kind of surge in sales from 2019 to 2020 due to the pandemic. You'd expect to see that go up, and a sharp increase in a lot of cases. But what we're actually seeing now, you would automatically think with us coming out of lockdown, pandemic seemingly appearing to be over, that we would see a downturn in the data, in the sales data that we continually analyze through our own businesses selling on Amazon. But what we're actually seeing, interestingly enough, is not only is there an increase on what those figures directly would have been from 2019, which you would expect because Amazon's got bigger, it's grown massively over the last 18 months, but we're actually seeing an increase on the pandemic figures. 2020, which is solid proof that Amazon's not quieter, Amazon's getting busier, and it's continuing to grow. What's happened over the last 18 months has accelerated Amazon's growth strategy by 10 years, easily. And that's what we're seeing in the reaction. I've always considered Amazon to be a very unique, innovative, and proactive company. But everything that we're seeing now with the restock limits, that's a reaction from Amazon because they were not expecting this to happen, what has happened over the last 18 months, because let's face it, no one else could. And not only that, because they are kings of collecting data and understanding customer behavior, they've also noticed that too. I fully expect that some bigwigs have been sat down with Jeff and soon to be Andy, who's going to be taking over. They've said, look, guys, the sales figures are not dropping. They're continuing to rise, even after the world is starting to open back up. And this is exactly the reason why they've been reactive and they're putting in restock limits, because they literally can't cope with demand. That's where this decision is coming from. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Amazon jumped on a webinar and they said, guys, don't worry, it's all going to be all right after Prime Day. And hopefully for those of you that read my posts in Secret Wealth Projects and, hear talking about previously, I've been saying for weeks, nothing's going to change in that respect. Restock limits are here to stay until they can get a little bit of a handle on the control of this situation, which I don't even know if they ever will be able to be perfectly honest. So it's something that we most definitely have to adapt to. And this has been playing on my mind over the last couple of weeks, and how we can change, adapt and evolve our business moving forward. But let me know in the comments, is that what you expected to hear? Or did you think that Amazon is probably getting a bit quieter, getting a bit slower? It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. Oh, and by the way, guys, as well, let me know who thinks it's coming home. Because obviously the reason we didn't do Never Mind the Buy Box last night was because England were playing, and we are the only home nation still left in the European Championships. At least I think we are. By the way, I'm not any type of football pundit or guru or anything like that. And I just knew, judging by last night, and thank God I didn't do it, because we would have literally gone live about 1 minute after we'd won. And I didn't even factor or take into account like penalties or anything like that. So it was good that it happened the way it did, obviously. But let me know in the comments if you think that football's coming home for the English football team. We shall wait and see. But I'm definitely glad I postponed it from last night, because I think if I had gone ahead and done it, which we would have had time to do it, but either everybody would have been drunk and you'd all be trolling me, and you'd all be, you know, not listening to a word I've said, which of course you don't have to, obviously. But I think it was definitely the right decision. So obviously, I think we've got an Italian viewer on there. Sorry, I can't see the comments. I can't see who it is. I'm not sure who put the Italian flag up. Kay says it's coming home for sure. Oh no, I can't see who put that up. Hi, Gavin, joined us this evening. I'm going to read a couple of comments as we go through, as I'm here on my own. Pools, did someone say pools? That's got to be Philip Dyke for sure. Yes, it is. Thank you, Fran. That's very kind of you to say. Hanson's joined us. Hayden, a few others have joined us. Brianna, Caitlin, Gavin, just saying a quick hello. Yeah, well, Kay definitely thinks it's coming home. Daniel says the lorry driver was definitely celebrating. Fingers crossed that you sort out and the actual container container comes tomorrow and you can start to unload all your private label products. So be looking forward to hearing about that and you know, hearing the progress on everything at the moment, because again, from what I'm going to talk about a little bit later with thoughts and, you know, things on what's going to happen on Amazon for the rest of the year, I've got no doubt whatsoever you're definitely going to be successful. So Sean says July, August and September were slow last year. I'll be expecting the same if the UK government fully unlock temporarily, or higher sales this year compared to last year if we don't fully unlock. Well, don't forget, you know, starting July the 1st, we've also got this thing to do with potentially being able to sell into Europe. Now, I'm not going to answer any questions about that tonight because I haven't fully looked into it, to be perfectly honest, because I know Mark was on last week, but I haven't had a chance to watch last week's Never Mind the Buy Box. I know, shame on me, but I want to be able to understand what the potential is there for the possibility of being able to resell back into Europe again, because that will be a game changer for a lot of people here, because many people lost kind of 25-30% of their income when obviously we were unable to sell in the European markets. And I know that this is an agreement that's been specifically put together for e-commerce sellers. So it'll be really interesting to see how that develops over the next couple of months, because for a lot of people, for where sales might have tailed off, you know, for whatever reason, due to restock limits and things like that, there might be an opportunity to be able to kind of make up some of the shortfall that people are experiencing with the reduction in what they might not be able to send into Amazon moving forward, and especially if they can't adapt to a seller fulfilled model. So we'll definitely be following that closely and, you know, updating you as that comes about. As far as I'm aware, it's for VAT registered sellers, but as I said, I really haven't looked into that too much as yet with regards to what it's about, what it's not about, who's entitled to it, you know, who's going to be able to do it, who isn't. I know certainly for our private label brand that we're selling in the US at the moment, that's definitely something we had started the process of pan-European VAT registration, because the products that we sell for this private label product or brand of products is definitely 100% suited to particularly the French, German and Italian markets as well. So we don't want to miss out on those markets. So we'll definitely be keeping a close eye. So if there's an easier route to go down than the full VAT pan-European registration, I would definitely prefer that, purely because it would just be so much easier. And, you know, the products that we sell are quite high value and they've got quite high margins in them. So definitely if there's an easier route and we can pay a little bit more like the traditional old EFN fees, then we'd be quite happy to do that, because, you know, we've got the margins to be able to absorb that if we needed to. But let me know any questions as we go along. So you're welcome, Daniel. Fingers crossed. Yeah, keep us updated on that. definitely going to be more sips of water as I'm going to be talking on my own tonight for sure. So, right, one of the first things I wanted to talk about. So, Philip Dyke kindly posted in the group a few days ago about a potential loophole, whatever you want to do it. By the way, disclaimer, I'm obviously not advising anyone to do this. I am certainly not a financial advisor or an accountant or anything like that whatsoever, relating to anything that I'm going to say about this. But there's been a guide that's been posted and written in the group, and I would advise anyone who will talk about it, from a general point of view. But if anybody is interested in finding out a little bit more, please take a look or drop me a message and I can point you in the right direction to where the post was made. But what it essentially relates to, now this is something we first kind of heard about well over a year ago, to be perfectly honest, but it was actually someone in another group who discovered this, and it was something that sort of saw at the time, thought it was interesting, but I'll be completely honest, I didn't really think anything else of it. And then, a couple of sellers came to me probably about 3 months ago, something like that, with this, notion that potentially, and I have to be very careful with what I'm saying here, obviously, I hope you guys will understand that, relating to, the subject that we're talking about, this subject of this post that Phil kindly posted. So I have to be careful. So it sort of came to me, and had I heard about it, and it was something that at the time I didn't realize I'd previously heard about it, but I didn't connect the dots. And did I think it was, feasible? Did I think it was right? And at the time, I was pretty skeptical, I've got to be honest, because I didn't think that it could be, considering who Amazon are, and they are the largest retail company in the world, and, and all this, different thing, and relating to what it is, and if the, if this kind of loophole, if it wasn't set up correctly. So, what it essentially pertains to, in a nutshell, is that if you are, as we all know, if you're a non-VAT registered seller, then Amazon will charge you VAT on fees. Okay, so it doesn't charge you VAT on the products. It's up to you to do that, within your own business and things like that. But it does charge VAT on fees, and that is if you're non-VAT registered seller. If you're a VAT registered seller, you enter your VAT details within your Amazon professional seller account, then you no longer get charged VAT on fees. And I'm not going to go into the particulars because, as I said, I'm not an accountant or tax specialist or anything like that whatsoever. So it's pretty black and white. VAT registered seller, no fees, or no VAT on fees, and non-VAT registered seller, then you pay VAT on fees, and which of course is kind of 20%. Now, a couple of people discovered that within the Amazon terms of service, and it was this kind of unique bit of text or something like that, what it actually relates to, that actually, because of Amazon's geographical location, that if you are a non-VAT registered seller, because of, as I said, this geographical location, then actually you might actually be exempt, or allegedly, I'm going to say the word allegedly, that's a good legal word, allegedly be exempt from paying the VAT on fees. And what actually happened was a few sellers had actually gone through the process with this kind of blueprint or roadmap that Phil's posted, and basically showing the process of how, if you are non-VAT registered, or you have previously been non-VAT registered in the past, so even if you've transferred and gone over, that you might, or allegedly might have not been shouldn't have been paying the fees, or the VAT on fees, sorry, VAT on fees, not fees. So therefore, you might allegedly be entitled to the fees, the VAT on fees that you had paid out over the time that you have been an Amazon seller. Now, you can look at this whatever way you want. We literally are not going to encourage or discourage anyone from doing this. It's entirely up to you. As far as we're aware, we haven't seen any kind of consequences for anyone who's gone ahead and done this at the time. I think the first sellers that kind of went through the process we're a little bit worried. Would it have consequences? We all know what Amazon can be like sometimes. Was it going to have negative connotations on people's accounts? Could there be taxing, you know, all this different type of thing. Now, as far as the people who wrote this guide have informed me that they have gone through the process, none of this has happened as far as they can tell, but obviously it's a very small group of people. So now that information's been made public through this guide for people to be able to go ahead and go through the process themselves. So what I will say, although it has been posted in the Secret Wealth Project, Facebook group, that obviously we can't take any responsibility. It's going to be up to you guys to have a look at the guide, read the guide, and see whether or not it's something that you want to go and go ahead. But all I can say is through people that I've spoken to, that people have been getting thousands of pounds back, depending on how long you have been selling on Amazon before, depending, you know, how long you have not only been selling but also been a non-VAT registered, because not everyone, you know, goes VAT registered. Unfortunately, it's not something I've been able to experience myself, because, you know, we joined Amazon as a VAT registered seller, so it's something that we, you know, couldn't. So if you did join Amazon as a VAT registered seller, unfortunately it's nothing that you're going to be able to go ahead and pursue. This is for non-VAT registered, or even if you are VAT registered now and have been non-VAT registered in the past, then you may be entitled to put this claim in via Amazon using the guide. And I'm pretty sure it's got just a, you know, copy and paste process. And I think as the guide states, that you kind of just have to copy and paste it word for word, and fingers crossed you should be able to see if you are entitled to any money back that allegedly you may have overpaid or may not have overpaid. Yes, you can. As far as I'm aware, Lisbeth, anybody can apply. And as far as I understand it, even if you are still non-VAT registered, it's may or may not be allegedly worth doing, because obviously if you can potentially make yourself exempt, which means that you may or may not have to pay the VAT on fees moving forward, even if you are not in a position that you are VAT registered as yet. This isn't my process. It's not something I've been through myself, so I can't hand on heart offer the advice that it's protected or it's correct or it's, you know, viable in tax terms or whatever. So I would I'd advise you all to have a read of the guide, make your own judgments on it, and decide what you want to do if you want to go ahead and you know, find out some more information about that. But Hanson said, applied for my VAT refund, got a response yesterday, awaiting investigation, and need to confirm that they are VAT exempt. This is, you know, just to let everyone know as well, it's UK sellers. So this is something just taking that into account. But yes, as far as I'm aware, they really are going to ask for a lot of information. The other thing that I wanted to add to this as well is that just make sure your account is in order. So Amazon is probably going to look into your account in a bit of detail here. So just make sure everything's matching. Don't give them any excuse to sort of say, oh, we want to put you through a verification, or, you know, we've worked out that that doesn't match that, or whatever reason. So I would say before you go ahead and do this process, just make sure everything is as is, because especially if you have an older account, before you had to go through such stringent verification to set up your account on Amazon, I would say that it's definitely worth making sure that everything matches, everything's correct before you go ahead and do that. Because like I said, just don't want to give Amazon any excuse to be able to say, okay, you know, this doesn't match, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that. So yeah, very interested to find out, and let us know obviously how everyone proceeds with it. Phil has actually said, he's put something here, so let me read it out. Now, we are getting more information on this, and it appears is to do with EU tax rules, VAT, and where the services take place. Yes, that's correct. So if you are non-VAT registered or where you can meet the criteria of the T's and C's, then you may be exempt. So yeah, it's really similar. So say, for instance, the best way I can describe it is when we had Easy Prep, which is the prep centre. So if somebody was not based in the UK, because we charge prep is a service, it meant that they were exempt from paying the VAT. So it's very similar to that. So it means that they don't pay. It's like it cancels each other out. And we can't charge VAT, and they can't claim it either because we've not charged VAT, if that makes sense. So it's very similar to that, because the reason they don't charge it on products is because it's products. Whereas if you think about it, the fees, it's charged on the Amazon selling fees, and that is a service that Amazon provides. So that's the reason why you have always paid, or we've always paid VAT on fees, is because it's a service, as opposed to selling physical products. It's not based on, you know, the referral fee or anything like that. It's based on it's based on, the referral fee. So it's Amazon services that they provide. So that's why they charge the VAT on fees. And yes, it's exactly with that reason. So it's like a double tax treaty, or so. I don't know what there's a word for it. If you're watching, what's it called? He'll know exactly what it's called. But yeah, that's the reason. And Philip's also added, agree, make sure you are bulletproof and can exactly spell out the times that you were a sole trader, limited company, or VAT and non-VAT registered, etc. So, you know, go through, have a look at the information that Phil posted, and decide whether or not you want to go ahead. But as I said, just to reiterate, that's going to be for people who have either been non-VAT registered in the past or who are currently non-VAT registered. But obviously, you'd have to have a registered business. So reverse charge VAT, there we go. I knew he'd know what it was called. So it's called reverse charge VAT, Phil, if you want to add that in. So Kay says, does this mean that sellers who are non-VAT registered should not be paying VAT on fees moving forward? Allegedly, yes. That's the only way I can describe it. Yeah, allegedly. If that's correct, because if you're going to be getting a refund, then it means you shouldn't be paying it moving forward. So yeah, absolutely. And the reason is because, as far as I understand it, because of the reverse charge VAT, because Amazon's business is based in Luxembourg. So some of you might be saying, okay, well, we're UK sellers, we're based in the UK, Amazon's based in the UK. Well, no, actually, Amazon's company that sells relating to the UK that deals with the fees and services is actually based in Luxembourg. So that's why we're having the reverse VAT thing here. So, you know, as I said, check it out, see if it works for you. It could be a nice little payday for you, could be a nice chunk of change coming back to your account. So have a look, and, you know, the steps have been clearly written out by the guys. So it's something that's definitely worth looking at there. David said, why is this a bit hush-hush? Can accountants not confirm this should be genuine case of no VAT should be charged? I don't know. I think it's one of those things that I know some accountants have come out and said no. I know some accountants have come out and say yes. I think it's probably one of the things that the reason they don't is because most accountants are probably not tax specialists. So therefore, they don't want to put themselves in that position. That's what I can understand. So, you know, probably if anyone's going to confirm it, it should be a tax specialist. And who wants to go up at the mite against Amazon and say, actually, Amazon, you know, maybe you shouldn't have been allegedly doing this or whatever. I don't know, for whatever reason. I don't think it's hush hush. I think it's just a case of Amazon is probably not going to hold their hands up and tell everyone about that, tell everyone about it. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that I think I was asked to keep quiet about it for, you know, until a few people had gone through the process, which I was happy to do, providing I got the exclusive on Never Mind the Buy Box. It didn't happen, unfortunately. But it was something that I don't think it's been hush hush or anything like that. I think it was just a case of, you know, the information's just not commonly known. But obviously with the release of the guide and pushing it out through different Facebook groups and people talking about it a little bit more, I think it just comes down to, David, we all know how Amazon is, and we all know how, you know, how they can be about certain things. And I think people tend to err on the side of caution. So yeah, David, I think Philip just replied, yeah, exactly what I said. I think it's to do with being tax specialist. Yes, as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen it yet, but I do think Passive Tax did send out something about it relating to that. Interesting about the PPC, Gavin. Now, I feel I do know the answer to this, and I can't think of it at the moment. So, but I feel Matt might know the answer to this. So whether or not it relates to PPC costs as well, I'm going to put myself out on a limb here, and I'm going to think it does relate to PPC costs, or there could be something in the back of my mind that says the team or the part of the company that runs PPC is based in the UK. I can't remember, but I will double check that. Either, yes, it is to do with the PPC, or the team that runs the PPC or the business that runs it, that side. Because as far as I was aware, at some point, Amazon separated their PPC business from the rest of the business. And that's why they put the Luxembourg business elsewhere. There we go. So yeah, PPC is UK based. So as far as I'm aware, because it's UK based, then no, it wouldn't apply to that. But obviously I'm not a tax specialist or an accountant. So yeah, so PPC is based, I mean, wouldn't that be a heck of a refund for a lot of people? It is very confusing. Yeah, Matthew Wright also confirming that as well. And I think that's the other reason as well. It is confusing. It's tax. None of us are tax specialists or accountants. Maybe there are tax specialists and accountants watching, or who will watch this video in the future. But I think that's what it comes down to. So, and that's why we have these Facebook groups. That's why we do things like Never Mind the Buy Box, that if something's working and we feel it's legit, if we feel that it's, not going to have too much risk involved, then we'll obviously try and shout out and tell as many people as about it. If you are in a Facebook group that we're not part of or something like that, feel free to share the information, because it's something that could help out sellers, and this is what the community is for sure. But yes, it's very confusing, and it's something it might be worth having to chat to your accountant about it if you want to double check before you go ahead and do it. That's always my first port of call, is what I'll always say to everyone, especially if it's anything relating to tax or anything like that whatsoever. If you want to check beforehand and you want to get some solid advice, speak to your accountant or tax specialist beforehand. That's the best thing to do. But obviously keep us updated in the group. Let us know how you get on. It'll be interesting, certainly, to see how the results. But just to reiterate, we are not encouraging anyone to do it. If you do go ahead and look at the guide that Phil kindly posted, then it's entirely up to you. In other words, you're on your own. Well, we'll wait and see. We'll wait to see the results for everyone. Let's have a quick look for invoicing. Yeah, just people chatting between themselves. Phil says, if you do undertake their process, use the group to show what feedback and questions Amazon's ask, as they do keep changing what they've asked. That's a really good point as well. We're obviously all here to help each other out. So yes, if you do go through the process and like Hanson said, maybe give us some information with regards to what they're asking, because it's, you guys have probably got to understand it's not something that Amazon are just going to flip a switch and go, yeah, here's £10,000. They're obviously going to want to verify things. They're going to check things. They're going to check on your account, everything that we've spoken about. You might get different operatives that might not have heard of this before. So you might get someone that just turns around and says, no, this doesn't work, or it's not good, or something like that. So yeah, obviously keep us updated within the groups. It's always good. We can all obviously support each other through the communities through doing this, which is good. So any other questions, let us know on that. But obviously, just to reiterate, it's not something I've done, not something I've been through, so I can't answer any specific questions about the actual process, but just post them in the group. And, you know, I think quite a few people have been through this process now, so it's probably worth finding out about. Simona says they've confirmed my refund for my limited pre-VAT period, but self-employed. But for self-employed, they're fighting with all their claws. Haha. Yeah, like I said, it's, you know, you can, I suppose, in a way, you can kind of understand, you know, especially if this does come out and become very common knowledge. You know, it's what, 250,000 sellers in this country or something like that. So it's, you know, we're not talking chump change here. This is, you know, a lot of money that's kind of involved and relating about this. So again, it could be another reason why people have been reluctant to say anything. So, but like I said, it's not something that's been known for years and people have kept it quiet. It's a relatively new development. Like I said, I first saw a seller who kind of stumbled on it a year or so ago, and then a group of other sellers kind of saw that and developed it a little bit further and see what could happen. Yeah, that's interesting. If anyone has been through it, what is the time period? What is the time period? That would be interesting to know. I think from my conversations with the people in this group is that it kind of takes anywhere from, you know, a month to kind of 3 months, because I think it was around 3 months. 3 months ago was the first claims that kind of went in. And I think, as far as I'm aware, some people are still waiting some period. Yeah. So there we go, around 3 months, something like that. So again, it's probably not going to be overnight. But the more Amazon become aware of it and the more the guys at Seller Central become aware of it, then possibly then it's going to take, it might take quicker because more people might be aware of it. 4th of May, still arguing about it. Yeah, it's probably not going to be, like I said, an easy route. It's, you know, they don't think you send it in, they're going to tick a box and off you go. There's going to be a little bit of to-ing and fro-in, because we all know what Amazon's like. It's persistence with Amazon. And, you know, it's why you go through all these different processes of, you know, getting a reimbursement or something like that, liken it to that. Sometimes you'll come up against someone, they're like, no. You try again, no. You try again, no. You escalate it to managing director, maybe they'll do it. Before that, first time you might get it. It's going to be different for different people, obviously, depending on their businesses and things like that. So that's that. Have a look in the post in the Secret Wealth Project, and if it's up to you, you know, go ahead if you feel it suits you, for sure. Yeah, Phil said they're replying a bit quicker now, I can tell you that. So there we go. That's good to hear for sure. So we've spoken about the VAT reclaim. So, you know, guys know where to go if you obviously want to investigate that a little bit further, but on your own head be, I have to say that, obviously. So one of the other things I wanted to talk a little bit tonight, you know, we talked about restock limits, we talked about the VAT reclaim. Any questions, obviously, as we're going along, let us know. Was just to give you a bit of a general update on, you know, kind of selling in America and how that's going, because we took the decision to sell in America well before the restock limits, well before anything of these kind of big changes that have been happening on Amazon. But it was certainly as a, not a reaction, but it was certainly, if we'd had still been possibly selling in Europe and things like that, it was definitely something that we did quicker selling in the US than we thought we were going to. And I think it was probably because of Brexit and recognizing, this potential opportunity that we have with this private label product that we probably weren't going to be able to sell as quickly in Europe as we could have done. So it kind of escalated, selling this private label product that we wanted to sell, which is pretty much suitable to sell in most countries, to be perfectly honest. But we did start in the US, so we saw it as a good opportunity to not only test out the US market, see what it was like. It's the first actual true private label we've ever sold. Many of you guys know that I sell unique bundles, which is kind of grey area private label. And I don't mean grey as in dodgy, but I mean, unique bundles blur the lines between arbitrage and private label. They're not arbitrage, but they're not private label. They're somewhere in the middle, leaning more towards the private label side of it. But this particular product was a UK manufactured private label product. So I suppose it was traditionally different from a private label product, a known private label product, where many people will go to China, possibly India, some other countries to get these type of products manufactured. So I suppose we did do it a little bit differently because it was a UK manufactured product anyway, which thankfully turned out to be, quite fortuitous because of obviously everything that's going on with China and shipping containers at the moment. So, and maybe we had our Mystic Meg hats on, I don't know. But manufacturing in the UK, by the way, guys, very good to look into. If you're thinking about private label and you've heard the horror stories about the costs of containers and shipping, which hopefully we'll talk about a bit in the moment as well, then you will know that, manufacturing in the UK is actually quite a good thing at the moment with regards to the rising costs that are going on with shipping, containers and everything like that. So I can't remember exactly when we started. What are we, July now, coming into July. So I think we launched the products mid to the end of March, something like that. And we've just coming to the end of our third full month of selling in the US, and things are going pretty well. It's pretty consistent. So what we've done is we've initially launched the product to start with. So we've been through that process. We've been through all the discovery period of understanding, what people are searching for on Amazon. So all of the research, gathering of the keywords, looking at initial campaigns, going through all of that. So we've been through all the early stage of things, and we've built a solid level of sales. Now for this particular product, it's a product that's part of a brand group. So it's definitely we're going to be adding to it at a later stage, but we've made a really strong start. And it was probably quite a cautious start, to be perfectly honest. It's in quite a competitive niche, but it's a very unique product within that niche without giving too much detail away. So for us, we know that we haven't really pushed the boundaries too much on that yet. And the reason that we haven't pushed the boundaries too much on that yet is because when you launch a new product or a private label product, you certainly need to establish some sort of selling history, get reviews, do this, do that, make sure your listing's correctly optimized, have a look at why people are buying, why people are not buying, what keywords they're buying on, all these different elements, which we, spent the first kind of 6 to 8 weeks looking at with this particular product. So we have a lot of that data and information now. And now we have that information. Now we've, established reviews, and now that we've built up and building up, working our way up the organic rankings for the keywords that we want to rank for. Ultimately, that's the end goal, to rank for the keywords organically, so we don't have to pay out, paid advertising for them. And we're seeing a very nice mix of that. So we are actually rising slowly but surely within those organic rankings. But because it's such a unique product within that area of selling on Amazon, that naturally it kind of stands out anyway. So we've learned a lot of lessons over the first few months of selling, for sure. Some of the things that we've learned, especially on selling in the US, is that everything takes that little bit longer than here in the UK, and that's just because of the sheer size of the country. We definitely experience a lot more split shipments than we're used to experiencing here, and things just cost a little bit more. I don't know if it's because of the fact that although the pound has got stronger against the dollar over the last few months, but it's not, you know, when the first time I bought in dollars and went to America, it was 2 to 1. Now, obviously, it's around 1.4, of course. So I don't know if we feel we feel it that little bit more because the last time we sort of bought and sold in dollars, we were at that kind of 2 to 1 phase. I'm not sure, or close to it. Certainly, well, actually, probably no. Actually, probably the last time we did it was about 1.5, but definitely higher than we are at the moment. So it might feel that it's a little bit more expensive. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But certainly the cost of prep, I'll tell you what, for the guys that use prep centers here, wait till you use one in America. They're a lot more expensive. But I think it is, and it really does come down to that conversion of the dollar, and also, you know, the fact that it's geographically such a huge country. Because when we first started sending the shipments in, you know, I think we got like a 5-way split to start with. And we're like, oh, for God's sake. Now, obviously, it's not too bad because it's one product and it's private label. So it's not like you have to fanny around with different box sizes and moving boxes over from smaller to larger products and things like that. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't work like that. With this in particular, it was okay, but we weren't anticipating it. So therefore, what we had to do is we had to make sure, because we used 3PL, we had to make sure that they were aware of that and they hadn't packed them beforehand, and they might have to do this and they might have to do that. So that's something just to be aware of, that it's a huge country. And if you think about it, it's not like they can send all of their items to one distribution center in, say, Florida, and fulfill that item from Florida to, say, California, because, you know, that's like 4,000 miles across the country or whatever it is. You know, it'll take God knows how many hours to fly from there to there. So that's why they send all of these products around the country as much as possible. And it's why arbitrage, if you're ever thinking about selling arbitrage from Amazon, is so much more reliant on getting the buy box as to where your goods are situated geographically. We experience it here, obviously, but not to the extent that the guys experience it in the US. For you know, I say for obvious reasons, but until I started selling in the US, I didn't think about it, to be perfectly honest. And that's something, you know, a little tip just to make people aware of, something to take into account. Not so much an issue on the private label side of things, but if you are going to think about selling arbitrage, then that's definitely something you need to take into account, and make sure that you pick a good prep center or a good 3PL center who is able to manage that process for you, and, you know, be able to know which places are going to be sent here and which places are going to be sent there. But, you know, the end of last month, and we're growing every month, which is really important. It will probably be, we're probably a month or so away from really ramping up our PPC campaigns and really going after some of the more competitive, higher volume, higher search volume, higher converting keyword terms, because like I said, we have to experience a certain level of trust within Amazon and you know, visibility to Amazon buyers that, you know, it's a good product through reviews. And I do not condone any type of, you know, review baiting, rebaiting, or anything like that whatsoever. Any reviews that we've earned on this private label product have been completely natural. It's something that goes completely against Amazon terms of service to ask for or get incentivized review unless it's through the Amazon Vine program, so which is something that we didn't do. So we have to wait for those reviews to come in organically, and we, you know, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, to be perfectly honest, because as good as you think your product can be, sometimes it's, you know, someone else might not necessarily agree with that. So we've got to take that into account. But there's been something that's been quite good, again, that's come out very recently in the last couple of days on Amazon, where we can actually challenge some of the 1 to 3 star reviews, or anyone's going to be able to do this. You were able to challenge 1 to 3 star reviews. Well, challenge, not challenge. You're able to get in contact with the customer now, which has been kind of, you've always been able to contact the customer. This is a big misconception on Amazon. You've always been able to contact the customer moving forward. Previously, not moving forward, you've always been able to contact the customer, correct whatever the issue was, and ask them in a very diplomatic way if they feel that the service or the experience has changed, that they might revisit the review, or that they might reflect that in the review. But you could never directly ask them to change it. You had to be very careful in the way that you did it. But now through this, particular new thing that Amazon has come up with, you can actually contact customers, resolve the situation, and ask them to change reviews, which is a massive game changer for a lot of people. And personally, I think it's really good on Amazon's part, because if you correct it, then why shouldn't you be able to ask for reviews? Why shouldn't you be able to do that? It's for the people that don't take any action. If you go ahead and do that, then you should be able to get that corrected. So yeah, that's what we'll be looking at, because we've it's not all 5-star reviews. The majority are 5-star reviews, but there have been a couple of reviews that we would like to go ahead and try that process with for sure. But yeah, last month, net profit of just under $7,000, which that's net profit once everyone's been paid, once the prep center's been paid, the cost of goods, absolutely everyone. So for the end of our second full month, we're pretty chuffed with that, to be perfectly honest. And we see that there's going to be a lot of potential for this brand. We've got no doubts whatsoever. This brand in itself, it's going to be a 7-figure brand, and it's going to be a globally sold brand across the UK, US, Canada. We're just about to go into the Canadian market as well, Australian market, German market, French market. 100% it's going to be something that it's going to take its time to grow, as always, but definitely in the next 3 months, I hope we'll be in an even stronger position. But yeah, wouldn't have been able to do it if we hadn't started selling in the US, and it's definitely a learning curve. But what I am enjoying about selling in the US for sure is I have no choice. I have to outsource everything. We have to, because we're not based in that country. So we have to use a prep center. We have to do this and we have to do that. And that's definitely been an interesting and kind of, nice way of doing it for sure. So I will keep you all updated about that, and obviously keep you updated about everything moving forward. We haven't used Fine yet, but I think we're going to. So again, something I'll keep you updated of. Said started last week and see a slight raise in purchases. That's interesting, actually. So I'm definitely going to look into that a bit more for sure. Is it worth starting a second account for PL? Yes, I think it probably is. If you're looking to build a brand on Amazon, then a second one, I think for sure, for a specific non-related to your arbitrage business in any way, shape or form, is definitely worth going down the route of. Because now I think when people start brands on Amazon, they also sell on Shopify, other marketplaces, possibly B2B, all these different types of things. So you want it really separate from your Amazon arbitrage business for a couple of reasons. One, customer visibility. It doesn't look great if you've got your beautifully branded PL product in a mix of, Pampers, nappies and Tetley tea bags. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work well for the brand. It's nice to have, a brand registered storefront, A+ content, all of these different areas that you can do if you set up a separate account. And Amazon is absolutely fine with that for the purposes of private label. They consider it to be a different selling model. So it's one of the circumstances where you are able to set up a separate account for PL, but definitely don't recommend if it's just going to be arbitrage, doing that again. So you want to do that. It's a tangible asset. If you ever sell the business moving forward, then, with few tweaks and things like that, then you should be able to include that. It will be very hard to separate those figures and the brand identity of the products if you're mixing it in with your arbitrage products. So yeah, definitely for sure. Starting budget for the project. Well, it's a bit difficult to answer that, to be perfectly honest, because again, I've been really transparent about this. This is private label product on a joint venture. So it's not really traditionally, it's not like I'm saying, you know, we created this product and we paid for the manufacturing cost and things like that, and the engineering of the product. It was somebody who we know who wanted to sell on Amazon but didn't have the know-how. So we created a partnership, we created a business on how we can sell this product together. So the product was already made and it was already manufactured. So it's very, very hard to be able to put an opening budget on it. With this product, I mean, honestly, the amount of engineering and everything that's gone into this product, and innovation and testing and branding, you know, all of these different types of things, photography, I would be very surprised if you couldn't start a product similar to this than like less than 50 grand, you know, and that might even be on the cheap side. But as far as I'm aware, you know, private label is something that most people sort of say 10 to 15,000 in reality is where you need to be for that traditional private label at the moment. And especially because of the shops, the cost of rising shipping. For me, I'm still the unique bundle girl, so I'm still always going to think that's the better route to start out with. But opportunity for private label at the moment, which I never thought you'd hear me say, in reality, for a few reasons, because people are really reticent to place those orders at the moment. Container prices have gone up from sort of 3,000-4,000 to 18 to 20,000 at the moment. So people really are reticent to place those orders. So again, probably going to have pretty deep pockets to be able to do that, or certainly a notion of knowing that the product is going to succeed. So the people that are able to be able to do it, a lot of people are going to be dropping out of the private label race between now and Christmas for sure. So there is real big opportunity in that space, but I certainly think it's opportunity that can be sucked up with unique bundles for sure anyway. So that's just my kind of 2 cents on that. So I think prices are going to be really inflated for private label, and starting private label, it's going to be a lot more expensive to do than it has been. Certainly, I'm talking about traditional private label, obviously, guys, you know, sourcing from China, having a product made there, maybe a Me Too product, something like that. That's definitely going to be more expensive now than it's ever been because of the cost of shipping and raw materials as well. So a lot of people are blaming the shipping, but the cost of raw materials has gone up as well. This is what kind of led me, or is leading me on to, you know, what I wanted to briefly talk about next. But before we know, it's 8 o'clock. So, you know, I won't go on too much longer. Time flies when you're having fun on your own with no friends. Well, you guys are my friends, obviously. But, you know, everything that's going on in the world with the cost of, you know, increased costs on everything. And it's not just increased costs on shipping. Like I said, raw materials, demand's gone up for that. Services, people are putting their prices up this year and are going to continue to put them up for quite a long time. There is no sign of this kind of cost of goods or costs in services coming down for sure. This is something that's going to continue on for a while. And going back to the very start of this kind of broadcast, where I was speaking about being on holiday and taking my mind out of the situation, I was thinking a lot about that, about where the opportunities are going to lie in Amazon and, you know, e-commerce over the next 6 to 12 months. Now, of course, it goes without saying, for everything, it will always be on Amazon. There will always be opportunity on Amazon, no matter what. Yes, arbitrage might be changing at the moment, but it doesn't mean arbitrage is dead. It's the oldest form of, you know, making money. You buy something low, you sell it high. That's not going to change. How you get through that process and how you do it on Amazon, that might change. But that process of buying something low and selling it high, that's never going to die. So, you know, always understand that. So anyone that's, you know, sort of saying arbitrage is dead because of restock or this or that, it's not. It's just changing at the moment. It's evolving. And it won't be too long before, you know, we can put it together and figure it out. But because of that, because of everything else that we've talked about this evening, because of those rising costs of raw materials and shipping, what it's actually going to do, in my opinion, so hopefully you guys will remember this in December when we talk about it, is that there's going to be stock shortages, quite a lot of stock shortages, I think, this year. And we do unique bundles. It's what we do. So that's relatively going to be unaffected because we can make unique bundles about, you know, what is in front of us, you know, that there's no issues with that whatsoever. But it got me thinking that if costs are going up, rising materials, rising costs, all these different types of things, combine that with stock shortages. And I started thinking about, you know, at Christmas, and we're still in a period of time, don't get me wrong, we're coming out of it, but, you know, there could be lockdown, there could be other things that happen in Christmas, but, you know, what we're going to do moving forward, it doesn't take that into account, because I think it would be, you know, a bit of fool's gold to think, you know, a bit naive to think, okay, I'm going to plan if there is going to be lockdowns this winter. I think, you know, with our vaccination program and things like that, they're going to avoid that as much as possible. That's the way I see it, certainly. So it got me thinking, right, okay, rising costs, bit of a Debbie Downer, because people still really haven't had holidays, they haven't do this. So they're going to want to make, like last year, they're going to want to make Christmas pretty special this year. But do you know what? There might not be as much stuff as available, or they might not be able to afford as much stuff because the rise and the cost of goods have gone up so much. So I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about a lot of what we do in the unique bundle market, focus on gift giving, it focus on seasonality. That's our area where we specialize in. And so I started thinking about it more, and I started thinking, okay, well, if we go down that, if we continue to go down that route, which obviously we are, then what it might be is our general costs are going to go up. They will. There's no doubt about that. They're going up across the board. But what can we do to ensure that we stand out from our competition? What can we do to make, for us, that we have a good selling period over this period of time? And I very much thought of, that kind of personalization route, and looking how we can make our products so much more different and so much more attractive to everyone else. And, personalization is amongst one of the things that we started talking about. And we also went down the route of looking at some of the companies that do similar to what we do, but have that kind of edge to them, where they can make those products just that little bit more attractive, that little bit more reason why they're going to pick your product over someone else's. And what was interesting last week was looking at these different types of companies that do what we do, but with that added extra. Which I think our products do have added extra anyway, but these products take it, a step higher, to be perfectly honest. I started looking at those, and what was really interesting, those of you that are in ESA, you'll know this, I love a good data dive. I look a lot into data, previous sales history, all of these different types of things. And what's really interesting is looking back at the big seasonal periods of last year, because these companies put themselves in a position where they have the most attractive products for that market to sell in, they become overwhelmed and they sell out, and they take a long time to deliver, and all of these different types of things. And we spent a long time looking at this opportunity and looking at these different types of things and looking at this and saying, well, do you know what? These companies, they're pretty big. They do this and they do that and they do that, but they're missing out on so much opportunity because they're selling out. Now, you could argue, well, they'll prepare even better this year. But what I don't think that takes into account is, yes, I think they will obviously prepare a bit better. But at the same time, I also think that there's going to be a bigger even increase than even taking in that account the void of last year, because of the other reasons. I think people are going to be more pickier about what they buy, because they might not have as much money to spend. So therefore, I think naturally there's going to be an even bigger demand than there was last year, plus a void of opportunity of lost sales. So taking all of that into account and looking at that, Matt and I have very much decided that we want to join this kind of exclusive kind of gang of people who take it not to the next level, but the next level above that. And that's what we spent our time looking at last week, how we could physically go into that process. And it's really exciting because it involves, as I said, manufacturing our own products, something that we had never considered doing previously. We've always resold other people's products. So it's about manufacturing our own products, adding personalized edge and things like that. So obviously it's going to be a big adaptation within our business, but something we feel that there's going to be massive opportunity in because of all the reasons we've discussed tonight. And I think it's just really interesting to go and do that. So yeah, that's what our next kind of big challenge is going to be. And it's actually going to involve, it's always going to involve Amazon. I think if you are got any type of products that you create yourself, I think you're mad not to sell on Amazon if the demand is there. So we're going to do that. But this is the first kind of foray, I suppose, that we're going to go into our own website, and we're also going to look at lots of different types of marketing and also different platforms and things like that. So, and it's not because, and I don't want anyone to think, so this is the stuff we're going to be talking about. Obviously anything I do, I'm going to be talking about publicly kind of moving forward, but the reason I wanted to talk quite openly about it is because I didn't want anyone to think that I'd lost confidence in Amazon. Actually, it's quite the opposite. For the, everything that I'd said earlier this evening, I think Amazon is as big and strong and growing as ever. But we've just spotted an opportunity that is going to be something that is kind of hard once you dive deep into the data to ignore, especially if you have the ability, the know-how, which we've most definitely got the know-how of how to do it, and the finance on how to do it as well, because it's not it's not cheap equipment that we're going to be buying, that we're going to be purchasing to create these kind of products. So it's definitely going to be exciting. It's going to be different, and I feel this is definitely the year for change. For sure. But it's not because I've lost faith in Amazon or anything like that. Amazon is still going to be always the number one selling platform to sell on. And if you sell any type of private label goods, I hear people saying, oh, we're going to do Shopify and we're not going to do Amazon, we're going to do this. You're mad. You have to do Amazon. It's so crazy in comparison, and I've sold on pretty much every single platform over the years, in terms of business to business, business to consumer, websites, eBay, Shopify, you name it, we've done it previously at some point in our lives. And I can honestly tell you, nothing compares to the power of selling on Amazon. So, don't think that we're turning our backs on Amazon. We're absolutely not. It's still going to be a massive part of everything that we do moving forward. So Sean says Amazon definitely number one. eBay comes second. I do love eBay though. Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing quite a traction on eBay at the moment, which is great. Sean said, wow, Amazon are fast at replying today. Shame it's not like this all year, LOL. I don't know, maybe they've not got anything better to do. Hanson said, see me on Dragon's Den next year. Well, we did get invited on that with our previous company a few years ago. So we were actually approached to go. So whatever they say, it's a bit like X Factor, people get invited to audition and things like that. We did get invited to go on Dragon's Den. but it just wasn't for me, unfortunately. So I wasn't prepared to go on and go through that. But I have definitely been in some Dragon Den situations, dealing with big companies in the past, and being grilled about, you know, certain things relating to products and stuff like that. So that's it for tonight. We've gone through VAT reclaim. We talked a bit about selling on the US, plans for 2021. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Obviously, I know I'm Billy No Mates on my own tonight. Hopefully, I'll have someone new with me next week. I think I will. But like I said, totally a choice tonight. Totally a choice to be able to just come and talk to you freely about everything that's going on, thoughts. And sometimes when we have we have another guest on, it just kind of gets lost in translation a little bit, what we want to, you know, eventually say. But thank you so much for joining me, and thanks for turning up on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll be back on Tuesday next week. I think England are playing on Saturday, and when we get through, positive vibes, when we get through, I'm pretty sure it's not on the next match is not on a Tuesday, but obviously subject to any major sporting event and changes, we will be back in our regular slot, 7 o'clock next Tuesday. I will see you then. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, like I said, obviously always post them in the group and we'll do our best to answer them. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care. Bye.